Allegiance, Pastor Andy Searles from Church Together will lead us in prayer, and Mr. Joey Coate of our Veterans Services Manager will lead us in the pledge. Please rise.
Let us pray. Gracious and loving God, we pause today with gratitude for the privilege of living in Seminole County, community we love and are proud to call home. Thank you for its beauty, its people, its opportunities, and the spirit of cooperation that continues to lift and enhance the lives of all who live here. We pray especially this morning for those in Jamaica and those in the path of Hurricane Melissa, praying that you would protect them and give them your peace. We pray as well for our county as we grieve the loss of some of our teenagers, and we pray for your comfort and your peace to surround the memorial services of two of those young people today. We give thanks for the gift of good government and processes that help and guide us towards what is best for our shared future. Bless these leaders with wisdom and clarity and courage, that their decisions may reflect mercy and our shared common good. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Oh. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Sincerely appreciate that. If everybody would just take a moment, check your cell phones, any other electronic devices you may have, and silence those, please. Next up is our proclamations, awards, presentations. We're going to do two proclamations in a row, and then we will take a break and give the opportunity for some photographs to be taken, and then we'll get to the Seminole 250. So up first is going to be item number 1, proclamation proclaiming November 11th, 2025 as Veterans Day. This will be read by Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and for all those veterans here today, especially those that work for Seminole County, thank you very much for being here, and we certainly welcome you, but thank you for everything that you do each and every day for the people of Seminole County. So I will move the proclamation of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners proclaiming November 11th, 2025, Veterans Day in Seminole County, Florida, and recognizing Seminole County veterans for their outstanding services to the United States. Whereas at 11 a.m. on November 11th, 1918, after 4 years of bitter conflict, the world rejoiced and celebrated the signing of armistice by the Allied forces and the Federal Republic of Germany for the secession of World War I. And whereas, to remember the sacrifices that men and women made to ensure lasting peace, on November 11th, 1919, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed Armistice Day in the United States. And whereas on June 4th, 1926, the United States Congress passed a concurrent resolution requesting that President Calvin Coolidge issue a proclamation to observe November 11th with appropriate ceremonies. And whereas on May 13th, 1938, 20 years after World War I, Congress passed an act making November 11th in each year a federal holiday, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be thereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day. And whereas, to honor an American veterans of all wars, President Dwight David Eisenhower signed into law a bill on June 1st, 1954, introduced by U.S. Representative Edwin Rees of Kansas, officially renaming Armistice Day to Veterans Day. And whereas in 1971, President Richard Nixon declared Veterans Day would be observed on the second Monday in November. And whereas, recognizing the historic and patriotic significance of commemorating Veterans Day on its original date, President Gerald Ford signed Public Law 94-97, 89 Statute 479 on September 20th, 1975, returning the annual observance of Veterans Day to its original date of November 11th. And whereas approximately 200,000 service members transition from military to civilian life each year, returning to their communities across the nation. And whereas the National Association of Counties and the National Association of County Veteran Services Officers invite the community to join Operation Greenlight for Veterans, a program symbolizing hope, renewal, and forward movement in support of the veteran transitioning to civilian life. And whereas in observance of Operation Greenlight, Seminole County encourages its citizens to honor the service and sacrifices of veterans by displaying a green light in the window of their home or place of business from November 4th through November 11th, and now therefore be it proclaimed that Seminole County Board of County Commissioners does hereby designate November 11, 2025 as Veterans Day in Seminole County and calls upon the Seminole County residents to honor the contributions of current and former members of the United States Armed Forces.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Constantine. If you're a veteran, if you would just stand for a moment and be recognized. Thank you for your service. Stay tuned. We'll come down and get some photos in just a moment. Next item up is item number 2, resolution honoring the retirement of Judge John L. Woodard, and this will be read by Commissioner Lockhart. Commissioner?
Thank you so much. It truly is my honor to present this resolution to the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners honoring the retirement of Judge John L. Woodard III. Commissioners, I move the following resolution. Whereas the Honorable John L. Woodard III was admitted to the Florida Bar on March 28, 1978, and has been board certified as a criminal trial specialist since 1988. And whereas Judge Woodard earned his Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Florida and his Juris Doctor from Wake Forest University. And whereas, prior to his judicial service, he served as an assistant state attorney in the 9th Judicial Circuit, practiced in private practice, was president of the Central Florida Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, and chaired the Orange County Bar Criminal Law Committee. And whereas, on May 2, 2007, Governor Charlie Crist appointed him to the Seminole County Bench as County Court Judge. And whereas, among his judicial assignments, Judge Woodard has been a lead figure in establishing the county court within the 18th Judicial Circuit. He has also been significantly involved with specialized courts, serving both as the judge of mental health court and judge of the Veterans Court in Seminole County. And whereas Judge Woodard has helped secure federal grants to fund the mental health court, demonstrating dedication to addressing complex social issues through the judicial system. And whereas his professional service includes membership in many organizations, the Seminole County Bar Association, the Foley-Williams Inns of Court, the Seminole County Mental Health Task Force, serving on the Seminole County Supervisor of Elections Canvassing Board, including a term as chair from 2010 to 2014. Past membership in the Central Florida Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, including serving as its president, and participation in national legal organizations. And whereas his work has been recognized with multiple awards, including the Seminole County Bar's Lifetime Achievement Award, the Bar's Distinguished Service Award for his creation and implementation of Veterans Court, a Certificate of Appreciation from Navy CB Veterans of America, the Gary Fourmet Award of Judicial Excellence, and the Mize Dickey Judge of the Year Award. And whereas, over his time on the bench, Judge Woodard has provided with fairness, compassion, and professionalism, championing access to innovative court programs, particularly in the areas of mental health and veterans issues. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners of Seminole County, Florida, that we do hereby recognize and commend the Honorable John L. Woodard III for more than 18 years of dedicated and distinguished service as County Court Judge, honoring his many professional accomplishments, judicial leadership, and his immeasurable contributions to Seminole County's legal and civic community. Be it further resolved that we extend our deepest gratitude to Judge Woodard for upholding the rule of law with integrity, for advancing the cause of justice in all his rulings, and for his vision in establishing courts and programs which serve the most vulnerable among us. Be it finally resolved that we wish Judge Woodard a well-earned, restful, and joyous retirement with our very best wishes for health, happiness, and continued service in whatever new ways he may choose to engage with our community. Adopted this 28th day of October, 2025.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Carries unanimous. Thank you, Your Honor. All right, we're going to take a short break and get some photographs down on the floor. If my fellow commissioners would be happy to join me. All right, we'll give folks a few moments to exit the chambers, then we'll get back to it. That's pretty bright.
It is bright. Were we supposed to have those on when the veterans were up to take a picture?
Gotcha. Don't hit the button.
I
I
have
was
no,
given no instructions on
It's
the
to
green
put
lights.
in your window from November 4th to
We're
November.
supposed to take it home.
When I
to
first
put
walked
it
up,
in your
I thought it
window.
was because we were starting this
making
new
that
thing
up.
that every time you wanted to speak, you
That's
could
what
turn the
I
light
said
on.
too.
I thought that was a pretty good idea.
yes. Ms. Bauer, we're not quite ready for you. Give me just 1 second. Sure. We're going to ask our Veterans Services Manager to come forward.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Gray, Ms. Latour, good morning. Residents, veterans that all cleared out, good morning. I started in the VSO office about 2 months ago, and every morning we go out to our lobby, and the veterans in there are just down, playing on their phones, not talking to each other, not conversating. So our team decided to change that. We start every day with a dad joke. Something so small means so much to somebody. So today I want to start this with a dad joke. What does the airman do when he finds a scorpion in his tent?
Runs.
He calls the front desk at the hotel and says, "Why is there a tent in my room?"
Right, exactly.
There we go.
Well said. Today we pause and honor the men and women who answered the call of duty, those who stood ready to defend our freedoms, protect our communities, and uphold the values that define our nation. Our service represents courage, sacrifice, and unwavering commitment to something greater than ourselves. As we celebrate Veterans Day, let us continue to honor their legacy, not only in words, but in actions that strengthen our veteran community and support the families that stand behind them. I also want to take a moment to recognize Judge Woodard, who has served as the Veterans Court judge and is now retiring. Judge Woodard has made a lasting difference in the lives of so many veterans, offering them understanding, compassion, and a second chance. His dedication to helping veterans rebuild their lives has left an incredible legacy that we are deeply grateful for his service, both on and off the bench. Your recognition today and leaders like Judge Woodard show that our county does not take freedom or service for granted. Today reminds every veteran that their service matters, that their sacrifices are not forgotten, and that this community stands beside them, not just on Veterans Day, but every day. From all of us that have served, thank you for your respect, your recognition, and your commitment to our nation's heroes. Keep up the fire.
Thank you.
Welcome to Seminole County.
Yes, indeed. All right, item number 3 is going to be Ms. Deborah Bauer, the Seminole 250
Yes.
presentation.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners, and staff. My name is Dr. Deborah Bauer, and I'm here representing the Seminole County Historical Commission this morning, ready to give you your burst of history in a few minutes, so hopefully I won't put anyone to sleep. So we give you a very brief overview of what the Historical Commission has been working on for the last 4 months in preparation for 2026. So what is the American semi-quincentennial anniversary, aside from being a word that if you try and say it too fast without having had your cup of coffee, you will inevitably get caught up in? It's really a short way to say happy birthday, United States, because it will be turning 250 years old next year on July 4th, 2026. This process for looking at how to commemorate the American 250 is something that started on the federal level going back to 2016 with an act of Congress, and then it's trickled down through the federal and state and now to the local level. So these plans have been in process for quite a while, and we've just kind of tried to help get Seminole County on page so that we're prepared to celebrate what I know will be a very happy time in Seminole County next year. The Florida 250 was created by Governor DeSantis in 2024, and he had initiated a plan and made it very clear that Florida 250 will be working with all 67 counties and all cities in the state of Florida on appropriate commemorative and celebratory opportunities for the 250th next year. The Seminole County Historical Commission, as you all know, one of our main goals and one of the main duties that we have is to help to counsel and advise you all, being the county commission, on matters of historical significance within our county borders. With that goal in mind, on June 19th, the Seminole County Historical Commission voted to create a subcommittee, officially known as the Seminole County Semi-Quincentennial Planning Subcommittee, or as we've been calling it for shorthand, because that is far too many syllables to say this early in the morning, Seminole 250. And I was very honored to be elected by my fellow historical commissioners as the chair of that subcommittee. We've been working since June, and we had a really crazy idea. We said, what if we try and get all of the stakeholders from Seminole County, core fundamental institutions, being the county, 7 cities, school district, college, and airport, in the same place at the same time, and tell everyone they're not allowed to complain to one another, but actually have to get along to try and come up with an appropriate set of ideas and recommendations to bring back to help coordinate this very large and very historically significant anniversary across the county. And believe it or not, that's exactly what we did. We went to the 7 city managers, to the school superintendent, to Seminole State College's president and the president of the airport, and asked if they would each appoint a representative to serve on this subcommittee. And I'm very happy and very grateful to all those individuals for sending one person who has met over the course of 8 meetings for the last 4 months to try and figure out the best way forward. We had our unofficial kickoff that some of you were at the Museum of Seminole County History on July 31st, and we are now happy to be able to say that we have come up with a list of official recommendations for you all, trying to be very cognizant of the fact that while we love to celebrate, we love to have a good time in Seminole County, we also want to be good stewards of not trying to do something that the pocketbook is not going to allow. So with that in mind, what we have done is we held these meetings because one of the things the Historical Commission felt very strongly about is that although we had buy-in from the 7 cities, the college, the airport, and the school district, we also needed to have public input from possible public-private partnerships to make this a success all over so that all stakeholders in Seminole County were represented in this process. And to that end, I'm very happy to say that over the course of those public meetings, we had dozens of people show up representing various 501c3s and in their guise as private citizens and business owners to give their efforts and their 2 cents, saying this is what we believe is the best way to celebrate. So those goals, aside from soliciting the public input, the other things that we worked towards was coming up with a written plan so that we could present it to you all, that these are what we felt the stakeholders, after getting that very long and process for public input, these are what the most popular and most feasibly logistical ideas were. The public meetings and their minutes, I'm happy to say, are all available. We have put them into the final report, but I wanted to give you all a little bit of some of the highlights of some of the ideas that we came up with. Most of them you will be surprised to know in no way that as the cities and the various host institutions started talking about, hey, what are you guys doing over in Altamont? Or, hey, what is the city of Oviedo doing? Or the college or the school district? Everyone very quickly from our first meeting says, we don't know, we'll get back to you. And so one of the wonderful things that came out of this process is it started all of the cities and the other institutions thinking about on their own how individually they were going to start commemorating the 250th next year. At the same time those institutions were working towards their own personal city goals, or for the airport, the school district, and the college, we started to look at how we might be able to coordinate some ideas countywide on things that would be appropriate. One of the things that we did is, and I do want to give a shout out to Lori Bailey Brown's team, the state of Florida had set aside some grant funding, and we had 11 days from when we found out that the grant had opened to when we had it submitted, which what we had a lot of hopes about, but unfortunately did not qualify for the state funding. So that caused us to have to scale back some of our recommendations. But I do want to give a shout out to Lori Bailey Brown's team, because they were nothing short of amazing and fantastic in what we were able to accomplish, so that even though we weren't funded, we did fight the good fight in trying to make an effort. The other thing that I want to point out is many of these things were already being done in some way, but the largest thing that we identified that was important for this was starting to coordinate so that the right hand and the left hand know what both sides are doing. And with that, in some of the most popular ideas were, for example, establishing a special Seminole 250 website. We found that in comparing works for other municipalities and counties in the state of Florida and throughout the United States, having a special designated website with the listing of what's going on, when, where, and how was a very popular and very universally suggested idea. Some of these other items would go through different various county departments. So for example, working with local museums to have special themed museum exhibits. I'm happy to report that Bennett Lloyd, the museum coordinator for the Museum of Seminole County History, already had planned to do a special exhibit dedicated to the 250th that will be opening in January. So again, it's really just trying to get the word out to various people that, hey, these things are in process, and this is what we would like everyone to know is going on, so they can take advantage of participating in these activities. Some of the other things were talks, looking perhaps at trying to put out some public relations media attempts. Probably what my personal favorite was something that we came up with, an idea called the Seminole County Liberty Tree Program, with this idea that Seminole County is Florida's natural choice with our emphasis on conservation and the environment. And so there were two suggested ways that every host institution, the county, the 7 cities, the college, the district, and the airport would plant a Florida elm tree in memory of what were the original Liberty trees that were planted during the American Revolution to celebrate independence and patriotism. And if there were not any baby trees that could be found through public-private donations, although we've worked on gathering some potential sponsorship opportunities as well, that each group would be able to designate possibly an already existing tree as their Liberty tree, and maybe even name it for PR purposes. So, for example, in the city of Sanford might have the Liberty tree Henry. You might have in Castleberry the Liberty Tree Hibbard, and so on and so forth, to kind of make it fun, so that as we go forward, these are all ways to remember and reflect and keep the commemoration going for all 12 months. As you can see here, the county manager and the comms office were terrific in helping to get the original 250 logo that is presented at the very top, and I'm happy to show you the various counties cities and other presentations, logos that are going to be used all throughout next year by the others who adapted that original county for some type of continuity in marketing. So with that having been said, if I can answer any questions, I'm here. I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity to speak with you and to present this information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bauer, and we sincerely appreciate all the work that the Historical Society has done on this. And so we're looking forward to more interaction as we get closer and getting these things pulled off. We'll start at the far end with Commissioner Lockhart, work our way across for any comments or questions.
So in some of my travels this last year, I've started picking up America 250 stickers at every little location that I can find, and I don't have a laptop that I can stick them on, so I don't know where they're going. But it might be fun to have some type of something that everybody could participate in, that they could, maybe it's a magnet on a car, or just something that would be a very simple design that could be shared, that could get the message out. But great job, love the collaboration. If you could have a list of the various nonprofits that are participating, that would be helpful.
We do in the final report.
Okay.
I know that some of your offices got draft versions of the report. I think one or two of you only may have gotten the formal, but we will make sure that we have the final version sent to all of your offices.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd
Immediately.
love to be, who is hosting the website?
It was suggested through the county, since this was a county initiative through the County Historical
It'd
Commission.
be great to have all of those nonprofits and those private organizations be able to have a link so that people can support the organizations that are supporting the project. Is there a plan yet for private companies who want to participate and perhaps donate funds? Is there a list, for 1,000 you get this, for 5,000 you get that sort of a
So
thing?
we did not feel within our purposes, because the Historical Commission can only advise and present information, we did not feel it appropriate to go that far, but what we did do is within the report, we did notate public and other 501c3s and private businesses who have expressed an interest in being willing to partner as sponsors.
Yeah, I think the opportunity to let businesses participate would be a really nice idea, too. So, thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Constantine.
Yeah. Dr. Bauer, thank you very much again for all your hard work, all the hard work of your committee. I think the Liberty Tree is a great idea, and I hope that you keep pushing that. And, are you saying that each place would have a location or a specific location like City Hall or a park or something of that nature? Their choice, of course.
So it's been very well received by the 7 various city managers. One of the reasons, because the original Liberty Tree was not a Florida elm, but in our recommendation, we wanted to have something that would have a chance of surviving for however many years later. So because a northern elm will not grow very well in Florida, Florida elm will, because it's a native lifestyle, or it's a native tree. And it seemed almost everyone is on board with that, and they really like the idea of being able to point to this being a Seminole 250 tree for many years to come.
Well, congratulations. Great idea.
Thank you.
Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Bauer, well done. It's quite obvious that you and your committee have spent a lot of time and effort on this, and I just want to commend you all for not only being transparent, but to reaching out to the community and all the other organizations. Well done.
Thank you.
Commissioner Herr.
I think everything's been said, although I'll ask the county manager if there's action that needs to be taken in order to support the Florida elm process. I'd be happy to make sure, usher that through our process so that we make sure that it's happening up here. And I'm sure it's premature today, but...
Yeah, no, in fact, we were waiting for Dr. Bauer's report, and I'm glad the committee met, and they have their recommendations. Now what we're going to do, she's going to bring that to us, and we're putting together a team of folks to see what type of recommendations that the county are, implications that it will be with the county, and then I'll bring, if there's any cost to that or something, I'll bring that back to the board. So we're working on it.
I think sometimes it's helpful that somebody steps out and says, we are doing this, that spurs along, so if you need that, let us know.
Will do. I will say the biggest ask right now is, one of the things the committee had decided was we didn't want this just to be a July 2026, like for 4th of July celebrate. The committee all felt, through reflecting the various city commission and city managers' feedback in the respective boards, was that this should be a plan for 12 months worth of commemoration. And so with that idea, in fact, really the most pressing need would be, we're asking all of the various boards and city commissions to follow, hopefully, the county commission by passing a proclamation declaring 2026 the year of commemoration for the USA 250. And we're hoping to have that done in January, just so we can kick off the year right. We kind of had this idea that whenever we get ready to have proclamations and resolutions from all 11 founding institutions would be very neat, and we felt appropriate. And so that would be, I think, the most pressing thing. But I will tell you, and I do want to repeat this again, one of the things when we were going through, we had some really cool ideas. I'm not going to lie to you. People were talking about doing drone shows. They were talking about extravaganzas and galas. But we wanted to keep in mind that this is something where this is a luxury. This is a want. This is our fund money. And so all of the recommendations that we made were done so that there would be minimal budget impact if any type of financial contribution required at all. If there are anything, so for example, there's a recommendation in there for the county to have a historical marker in recognition of the 250th. That's something that museum staff already has budgeted, has a line item, that money has already been dedicated for a marker. So that would be something where we don't want to put a drain, we don't want to put an ask on needing more money when there are, as I said, these are fun things that we'd love to have if we had, for example, gotten the grant. I would be giving you guys a totally different presentation, but we wanted to be fiscally responsible as we came up with these ideas so that hopefully they could be implemented
We
quite
appreciate
easily.
that.
Good stuff. All right, anything else? Thank you, Dr. Bauer. We sincerely appreciate it very much.
Thank you all.
Good work. Mr. County Manager, so you'll collaborate and get back with the board?
Yes, sir.
Great,
I will.
thank you
I'll be
very
giving
much.
you an update.
All right, next item up is going to be our County Investment Advisors Report, Mr. Scott McIntyre. Welcome again, Mr. McIntyre.
Good morning. I didn't realize it had been, I know it's been a month, obviously, since I've been here last time, but before we were here, the government had not shut down yet, and the government has shut down, and that's going to have quite a few impacts as we go forward. A shutdown that lasts a couple of days is not impactful, and there's not enough pain for anybody to step into action. But when you're at 28 days and you're a week away from the longest in history, and there's no, as far as I can tell, movement toward the center at this point. I mean, theoretically, it could go on quite a while. I think both sides feel like they have the upper hand in terms of perception, and that's what it's all boiled down to at this point. The thing that worries me is that Thanksgiving is coming up, travel season. There's three impacts. There's a lot of impacts, but one of them is that essential workers that are working are not getting paid, military being the exception. But I'm thinking in terms of TSA and in terms of air traffic controllers. I flew yesterday. It was more difficult than it should have been. I think as we approach the travel season, that's going to be a bigger and bigger problem. And then we're also not getting economic data. So we missed a payroll report. We will miss the October CPI report because it wasn't calculated. I think a lot of people feel like we're missing out on releases, but we're actually missing out on calculations. Nobody's doing the math. So the employment reports are literally surveys that are being taken, and there's no one to take the survey. So there's going to be a hole in the data. CPI is literally folks that are checking on prices and reporting back, and they're not checking on prices. So even though we got a September CPI report, which was necessary to calculate the COLA increases for Social Security, I'm not sure that there will be an October CPI report. So in essence, the Fed is flying blind. They're relying on some data that is coming from the private sector, and it's questionable about whether the market's going to embrace that private sector data or not. So as usual, we're up here in a period where there's a transition that's taking place, and we're not really sure where it's going to go. Having said that, the shutdown has not affected the bond market. I think yields are roughly where they've been. One of the things that I've talked to a number of my clients about that makes it different from what we were going through in July is that July was the debt service. I'm sorry, the debt ceiling. So the debt ceiling was extended, so we don't have to worry about paying our bills. This is more about the budget going forward. So that's the distinction. Treasuries are being paid, so securities being paid, veterans benefits are being paid, all that is happening. The question is going forward, are we going to agree on a budget? And that's where we are. So I do want to mention that the labor market appears to have weakened. Most of the anecdotal data suggests that it's weakening. That should keep the Fed on track to continue cutting rates. They meet this week. They're actually likely to announce, very, very likely, another 25 basis point cut tomorrow. Inflation continues to trend gradually higher. The CPI through September overnight, the headline and the core CPI rate were at 3%. The Fed's target is 2%, but 3% is okay. So that keeps the Fed on track. This is the 2-year Treasury note yield going back 1 year. You can see what the trend is. The trend is that the expectation is that rates will be lower in the future. So the 2-year note yield continues to fall. Although on the tail end there, it's risen a little bit. Again, I don't think the bond market's been affected by the shutdown at all. So these are where yields have been, as I've mentioned several times. You basically see this meeting as of a few days ago and where we were in terms of yields over the course of the last 3 meetings. Yields have trend downward. And the overnight pool rates, which are essentially money market funds for local governments, those yields are going to fall in conjunction with Fed rate cuts. So even though those rates there toward the bottom look pretty appealing, they'll be roughly 25 basis points lower theoretically this week, and then as we roll forward, there's one more Fed meeting in December. We expect the Fed will cut then as well. So we'll probably end the year, you can guess, 50 basis points lower on the overnight rate as well. Upcoming maturities, you have a meeting sort of in between those upcoming maturities on the 18th, so we're going to address the first 2 maturities. Recent transactions, there was a Palm term pool rate that was rolled over roughly a year to position for your expenses at a 393, which seemed really favorable at the time. And then there was some reallocation of monies back into your local banks, which we'd moved some money out. The clerk's office had moved some money out. This was reallocating it back in. We like to keep a balance in the local pools. So recommendations, the first is you have that large upcoming CD that's maturing, and what we need to do is go to the bank and ask them if they'd like to keep that. If they would, there's a negotiation process. It's usually favorable because they don't want that money to leave, so they'll pay a little bit more. I don't know where that's going to be, but my recommendation is that we attempt to roll that over, and then there's room in the term pools, and in essence what we'll be doing, assuming that you approve this recommendation, is investing into next summer, again, to meet your expenses, and then taking a small portion out into 2028, again, kind of carrying forward to the extent that we can, locking in longer with the expectation that the Fed is going to continue to cut into next year. Portfolio yield as of September was 431. You had about 17% that was fully liquid. That's been lower. There is some spending that's not reflected here. At the end of October, given the fact that those investments are not actually going to happen in October, your yield is going to be still roughly 430, which isn't too bad. I expect probably toward the end of November, it's probably closer to 420 or below 420. I'm going to step back. I know I've done a lot of speaking, and I always get stumbled up on this, so if I could ask for some help.
All right, I'll look for a motion.
Chair, I
Commissioner
move
Herb.
to implement recommendations of our financial advisor based on the report submitted today and recommend the clerk implement said board recommendations.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, carries unanimous. Thank you, Mr. McIntyre.
Thank you all.
We appreciate it very much. All right, next up is going to be our consent agenda items. If there's anyone here that desires, to speak on any of these items, please make sure you have filled out a speaker's request form in the lobby and get up to our clerk, Ms. Dominique, here at the front, and we'll make sure that you get an opportunity to speak on that item. Please identify the item on the agenda in which you desire to speak about, so we can make sure we can keep that straight. I will now go to the county attorney for the rules of public participation. Ms. Latour.
Thank you, Chairman. Florida law provides that members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on propositions before the Board of County Commissioners, except when the board is acting on an emergency or ministerial matter or conducting a meeting exempt from the requirements of the Sunshine Law. Individuals shall be permitted 3 minutes each for public comment or 6 minutes when the individual is an official representative of a formal association or group. The chairman may modify the maximum time for public comment at his sole discretion when appropriate. Public comments on quasi-judicial or other public hearing items will occur during the board's consideration of those items this afternoon. Public comments on pending procurement matters or on non-agenda items shall not be permitted at this time. Members of the public desiring to make comment must fill out a speaker form and present the form to staff, and forms are available in the lobby. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Latour. These are constitutional officers' consent agenda item number 5 and 6, county manager's consent agenda items 6A through 28. Mr. County Manager, do you have any revisions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, no revisions, so the consent agenda stands as presented.
Thank you very much. Any individual commissioner desire to pull any item for separate consideration?
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to pull anything, but I just want to make a comment, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure, go ahead.
I think it's, staff needs to be commended. We've been asking staff for a while to do CMRS, and I see it moving in that direction, and I just want to compliment staff.
Thank you.
For all their hard work to do that. Fully support all the items on the consent agenda. I would like to, at some point, get an update when the owner's rep for item number 10 will be brought to us, but that doesn't need to happen today, obviously, but I want to commend you all for the hard work that you've done.
Thank you.
Anything else? If not, I'll look for a motion.
So moved. Items,
I'll second the motion,
which is item 5 through 28,
including 6A.
including 6A.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Hearing none, carries unanimous. All right, thank you all very much, and those who are here in attendance to,
You can go back to work.
you can now proceed to go back to work or hang out with us the rest of the morning. We're getting ready to go in some work session timings. All right, our first up is going to be Economic Development Update with Mr. Guy Cunha, our Economic Development Tourism Director. Mr. Guy.
Good morning, everyone. For the record, Guy Cunha, Director of Economic Development and Tourism. We're giving our brief economic development update. To start off the outline, we'll have Idma Stenman, our Business Development Manager for big business in Seminole County. We define big business as any business with 50 or more employees. And then our Economic Development Business Manager, Esteban Salariaga, will give an update on small business and entrepreneurship and also workforce development. And then we'll discuss the next steps of our labor study. So business profile within Seminole County, we have a 4% unemployment rate, one of the lowest in the region, one of the lowest in the state. Per Scott McIntyre, who presented, we did see an uptick as well on the last Bureau of Labor Statistics report. So did every other county. We are one of the canaries in the coal mine. So we're very anxious and awaiting the next BLS report, as is everyone. Our average annual wage, $69,000 a year. That is one of the highest in the state, with 95% of our registered businesses being at 50 employees or less. Our largest employment sector, pretty much throughout all of Central Florida, is your retail industry, but our highest paying sector is management of companies and enterprises. Those are our headquarter offices that we have here in Seminole. So this is one of my favorite charts that Idma Stenman provides us. This tells us about 15 different stories all in one, but I'm going to give us the high-level overlook. The blue bar going towards your left shows the growth and increase in registered businesses at 50 employees or less, while the line, the orange line, shows the increase in salaries as we get to the larger scale businesses. One of the proud points for Seminole County and our community is you don't see a drastic drop between that orange line from big business to small business. That is something to be very, very proud of. So in Seminole County, to work for a small business does not mean you are taking a significant pay cut. All in, this contributes heavily to our quality of life for every employed individual in Seminole County. Now, our pie charts here on the left, this data is gathered from our partnership with Florida Commerce. So one of the key factors here to continue to remember as you see a yearly agreement across your desk from Florida Commerce, this is the data that we receive from them. On the left, the pie chart there, percent of businesses by industry in Seminole County, and on the right, the pie chart there is employment by industry. As you look at your top 3, top 4, you see the balance of high wage industries such as your headquarters with also medium to lower wage industries such as retail. So the balance in Seminole County as it currently stands is very strong across all of our research. Now I'd like to bring up Irma Stenman to discuss the big business outlook.
Good morning. Irma Stegman, Business Development Manager in the Office of Economic Development and Tourism. There you go. We continue to track our top employers, the largest employers in Seminole County, both in the private as well as in the public sector. For the public sector, Seminole County Public Schools has been traditionally one of our top employers, continues to be the case. Those numbers are actual, verified with each of those organizations. In the private sector, also has been continuing. Advent Health is our top employer. You can see some of our top employers in the private sector are in the healthcare industry, as well as in business, finance, and insurance industries. We also continue our relationship with the Orlando Economic Partnership, the OEP, and through that collaboration, we have established in the last year or so about 5 projects. 4 of those were expansions. The most significant expansion that we saw last year was the BNY Mellon Bank of New York expansion. Originally had announced 1,100 jobs and then announced another 500 jobs. And those are high-paying jobs at $90,000 a year salary. This collaboration also includes the promotion of sites, specific sites, through the DIRT program, made as well as assistance and visits to businesses, and some strategies development for economic development with the Economic Development Committee. And they provide a report quarterly, and this is their 3rd quarter of last year, where we can see that these are only the leads or the projects that are in their pipeline that have, for which they have submitted information or a site in Seminole County. So this is very promising. This is things we're looking forward to. And with that, I'm going to pass it now to Esteban.
Good morning, Commissioners, County Leadership. Esteban Saldarriaga, Seminole County Economic Development. To start our highlight, we're going to dive right into the Center for Business Development with Seminole State College. The Center for Business Development is currently operating its incubator at 96% occupancy with strong job creation, capital formation, and consulting hours. The Center for Business Development also is home to the Small Business Development Center that provides the consulting hours to business owners in the incubator. We wanted to share some impact with client highlights from each of our partners. So today I'm sharing with you In America with Grace Acevedo, an educational service, specifically English language services for non-English speakers. Grace, through the Center for Business Development, has doubled their revenue and been able to expand their business beyond Central Florida. Just to show the power of the ecosystem, In America with Grace also has partnered with Prospera for different business services. The UCF Incubation Program. Again, I want to highlight that the UCF Incubation Program really does have a niche of high-tech companies in their incubator. That, again, is showcased by the strong ROI of $11.50 per public dollar invested. There are also currently 3 international soft landing companies tied to the offices over at the Heathrow campus. You may have seen a highlight of that via Spectrum News, where they highlighted an AI company who recently joined the program. To emphasize the work that the UCF Incubation Program does, we have TimePlast, who this year was able to raise $1 million in funding that supported, again, a leasing of assets in the county, specifically a warehouse space in Castleberry. For other resource partners that we work with, we have Prospera. Prospera continues to support multilingual business owners. They do that through various ways, consulting, workshops, events. The business advancement services I want to specify are services that they identify with the clients they work with, and those take form in the shape of grants that support them with accounting services, legal services, and marketing services. The National Entrepreneur Center has seen an increase in the use of our residents engaging with Central Florida BizLink. That is their online platform for business consultation. They've also highlighted that 21 of our residents have gone further and gotten business plans created in partnership with their consultants. Two notable county workshops were Show Me the Money and AI Tools, both hosted here in Sanford. And lastly, the Central Florida International Trade Office, beyond the 49 consultations totaling 102 hours, also earlier this year served as a subject matter expert for tariffs. They hosted a tariff workshop at the Economic Development Hub. And before I go on to the next slide, I want to share that both of these partners have been utilizing the Economic Development Hub located at the Seminole State College Heathrow campus quite a bit. They exclusively host their workshops now moving forward at that location, which is exciting. Two highlights for Prospera and for National Entrepreneur Center. We have JL Evolution, with Prospera also celebrated at the recent success stories that they hosted a few weeks ago. JL Evolution is a tech company based here in Sanford who benefited from those advanced business services. CFITO, the segment that supports foreign trade from the National Entrepreneur Center, supported Herney Manufacturing, again, a local entrepreneur, a local manufacturer here that specializes in adhesives. They were introduced to Ex-Im Bank, which is the federal government's credit partner for financing trade activities. Now diving into workforce development, we start with Seminole Commits. Showing the impact there as they continue to serve our unemployed, underemployed, and underserved populations through skills training and certification programs. Those are updates as of the end of September. Career Source Central Florida hosted 3 programs during the summer, 2 adult cohorts and 1 youth program, or Utes, as my cousin Vinny says. I had to do it. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Be careful now.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yo.
Yeah, I got you. I'm sorry.
Hey,
I had to do it. I couldn't miss the opportunity. They had an 86% placement rate with the adult cohorts, which is incredible. And as many of you participated in the youth program, the celebration of these young adults going through different county departments to experience careers in government, incredibly impactful. We heard from many of the students who shared their experiences there. Starbase hosted in partnership with the county and the city of Sanford 41 high school and college students to create a model and simulation project surrounding the Barbara Lee. And the Manufacturers Association of Central Florida this week on Thursday is actually hosting the Made in Central Florida Expo, which will be connecting 200 registered students to that event to a pipeline of workforce needs within the manufacturing industry. And lastly, as we've done in the past, the Economic Development Team has supported Seminole County Fire Department with recruitment videos, tying that to collegiate athletes to build a desire for those students to join the fire department. I'm happy to announce that we will be starting a new project in January in partnership with the fire department to create more content. So excited to be able to showcase that soon. And to pass it back to the birthday boy, okay, for upcoming projects. Thank you.
Thank you. And one of the points on the incubators, we work with both Seminole State College and UCF to continue to look at the best strategic locations for each of the incubators. We are aware of the current developments at one of our incubators, and we're working hand in hand on all best possible outcomes for the county specifically. Now, last economic development presentation that we had, there was a request for a labor study to have a better understanding in return to office concepts in Seminole County and also the feeder system into our large employers. So now that we've started this new fiscal year, we've allocated the resources necessary to launch the largest labor study that economic development has conducted in Seminole County. We expect that this labor study, the first draft, will be completed on calendar Q1 2026. Our team will be engaged with all the largest employers along with our current partners, stakeholders, to have a better understanding of what that hybrid virtual and office worker looks like in Seminole County, and also who are the feeders into these large employers. We will then bring that data back to the BCC, and from that data that we gathered, we will look at possible next steps in updating possible ED strategies that may include job growth incentive review as well. And with that, I want to open the floor for any questions.
Very good. We'll start this end with Commissioner Herr.
I'm going to go through questions first. So on 858, Orlando Economic Partnership, it's the one with the funnels, the sales funnels. Are those specific to Seminole County?
No, those are to the entire region, including of Seminole County.
No, I'm sorry, those were the Seminole County specific.
Oh, okay, well, even better. Yes, so we received 2 of the funnel reports. This would be, yeah.
If I may add there, of the many leads they have, they respond and they submit properties, and sometimes there will be a property that's submitted that is an Orange County and another property that is Seminole County. Yep. So the same project may be counted twice because of that. So these are the ones that include Seminole County information or Seminole County sites.
This is fantastic information. We should be getting this regularly, specific to Seminole. We can get it along with the regional, but I really want to understand how we fit into the bigger portion of the program. So that's fabulous. Thank you. I also wanted to point out, Guy, that we served donuts in the lobby for your birthday. I don't know if you noticed that. But that was all just for you. And then let's go to 856. I think at some point, so this I'm going to do a commercial, I did the ribbon cutting for BNY. And I think next year we're going to see BNY on this list. It was simply phenomenal in terms of an employer that's been brought into this area that is remarkable. It is one of 3 financial hubs in the country. It is not simply back office anymore. In all honesty, I did not know that until I got there. That was intentional because it was brought in after 9/11 as a back office redundancy shop, and now it is one of the financial hubs within the country. It's significant. Significant. So, and I would tell you they have a philosophy of unrealistic hospitality. I thought this was interesting as a core belief. Never have I ever been welcomed anywhere like I was welcomed at this facility. Literally met me in the parking lot, which freaked me out just a little bit, I'm going to tell you. In this day and age, right, somebody standing there waiting. It was literally amazing. So that's the work that comes of this that started a decade ago that has now blossomed into a really beautiful relationship. And part of that is because of partnerships with the city. They mentioned the school districts, like they get it. So it was cool. That piece was cool. I'll take that out of my district report this afternoon. I was going to talk about that. And then on 868, I would point out, and I don't know this to be the case, but there may be an opportunity on that survey to partner with some of our commercial realtors to get really good survey data. I think they would help point you in the direction because they know what's sitting empty, and those employers probably aren't going to answer the survey unless prompted. We really need good information on that. My last comment is I'm going to give a shout out to Amy Kirkland from Seminole State, who does a phenomenal job at the incubator out at the port for small businesses and has been doing so for a long time. We appreciate you. Chairman?
Commissioner Delory.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Guy, staff, well done. I like the presentation, very detail-oriented. On the form that you have there that shows the large employers, come back to that real second. You did mention a little bit about the new expansion of the Bank of New York. How would that fit into that chart, not just for the employees, but square footage? And can you talk a little bit about that? Because that is a big project for us, and we didn't hear that much about it locally.
So the BNY Mellon expansion actually dates back multiple years. It's actually multiple projects at this point, so it's very exciting. This was a project through and through that was brought to us by the Orlando Economic Partnership through their relationship. It initially started off as Project Hub, and then through Project Hub, it grew into now the BNY Mellon expansion, and this may not possibly be the end of that expansion. So one of the exciting parts is it is an unincorporated Seminole, so we're very excited about that. But BNY Mellon did not come to the county for any local incentives. This is one of the projects that's had the highest wages, and to have a project such as this that may not be finished, even though we've seen reports out there already in the actual deliverables that we've seen for this project, there still may be more jobs, maybe a capital expenditure or two, but we expect possible wages. This project dates all the way back to 2023. And one of the indirect impacts from this project has actually been towards the Colonial Town Park area, as they're seeing their sales grow, as we've had qualitative data told to us, but also the Westin Hotel and the Hampton Hotel there that contribute into the tourism improvement district. So they have seen now their sales, rentals, food and beverage, and occupancy grow with this new market that has come in.
And so one of the reasons why I wanted you to do all this was because on projects that may seem small in the beginning, they're not. And it takes time and a lot of cultivating, not just from our staff, but from the OEPs and as well as the region. So I want to compliment you all on that. So it's important for us to grow those small projects like you're doing. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that. Thank you.
Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you very much. First of all, Guy, as I go around the community, all the way from, Orange County through Volusia County, when people talk to me, one of the things that I'm always getting is compliments about you and your staff. So congratulations. Also, the same thing goes with our relationship with OEP and how you have cultivated that relationship, you and your staff, and how it's become great. The thing that, I was going to comment a little bit on, the opening in New York, because I saw the pictures and they were phenomenal. I was not there, but, congratulations. And it's another example of how Seminole County sells itself. From the very beginning, I thought that we were, far too easy in trying to come up with incentives to come here, when if you want to come to Central Florida, there is no school district, there is no location that has more of a friendly atmosphere in business relations, the best place to raise a family, best place to live, and the whole thing. So once again, it's just wonderful to see that sales pitch is working, as opposed to, I want to come 20 miles and how much are you going to give me? Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Lockhart.
Very excited to see the study as it moves forward, and look forward to the ultimate report. I think measuring what we want to see happen in this community and whether or not incentives are the right way forward in certain projects will have a lot to do with the outcome of that study. How things are measured and why they're measured, and we've talked about this before in other realms. Numbers are funny things, and you can make them show what you want them to show sometimes. So I am a little curious about the largest employer data. We have an asterisk at the bottom that says that this doesn't include multi-site retail employers.
Yes.
But it does include multi-site healthcare delivery systems. So I'm a little perplexed. Does Advent Health, does that include CentraCare? Do these include the dock-in-the-box facilities as well? Or is this Advent Health hospitals or the college? Like, what is, tell me what, if you can. Because I know these aren't your numbers. That's the other thing that I think is interesting, is we have not directly verified with each company these numbers. So OBJ doesn't always get it right.
Yes.
We've noticed that before because they said that Seminole State College had 14,000 employees. We do not, by the way, putting on my college hat. So verifying numbers from OBJ is, I think, critical moving forward. So help me with understanding where these numbers are actually coming from and what they include.
So I'm going to ask Irma to come up for as she handles our research and the vast sources that are on there. But one of the things to keep in mind, for example, if you consolidated those figures, and Irma's going to bring in the data, you're going to end up with Home Depot, you're going to end up with Publix as those being the largest employers, when we know not every Home Depot is owned by the same person. Not every Publix is owned by the same person, but it will all.
I think they are.
No. So it would make the retail companies, it would make the individual box become the largest employers altogether. So I'm going to bring Irma up to better explain this.
Maybe
but-
I want another column.
Yes,
Maybe
we can
also
add,
want
yes.
that column.
Yes, we can add
Okay.
that data for sure. Irma.
Thank you for asking. The information specifically about Advent Health includes about 4 different business names. Advent Health, Information Systems, Florida Hospital Sanitarium, and some other similar names that might change slightly, but it does not include like a physician's office or CentraCare, unless they are, when they report to the state, their job numbers, if they are including in their CentraCare facilities or specific doctor's offices, but they are not in the data that I have. They're not specifically listed as individual doctor's offices or delivery centers, just hospitals, and they have I think an assisted living facility, and there's headquarters, those kinds of, and different departments from their headquarters. They did not list something like a college in this particular listing, but there's about 5 business names, and for HCA, it's just, I think, 1 business name that they're reporting in there.
I'd love to better understand what's included in those numbers.
I can get that to you, absolutely.
That would be super helpful. And I'd love
Yes.
to understand it from the employer, not
Right.
from OBJ.
Well, this is not necessarily from OBJ. So we have, I have a column for what is the OBJ saying, what is the state saying, what is the Data Axle saying, what is the Dun
Okay.
and Bradstreet saying, and I look at all them, some of them is like, well, this is not in Dun and Bradstreet, but it's in the OBJ, this is not in Data Axle. So, and I looked at the numbers and it's like, oh, this is way off, and then we verify what the state is saying, what they are reporting to the state. That is data that is confidential, and that we cannot specifically, publicly say it. So that's why I use different data sources so that we can and round it up and do this
Okay.
kind of magic. So we are not saying the state told us that this company has this many employees, so
Okay.
that's why we handle it that way. But we're happy to definitely share all the details of all this data with
Yeah,
you.
I do think it's important. Yes, I understand you don't want to necessarily have all of, every Publix employee,
Mm-hmm.
but I will tell you, that is a huge workforce opportunity for our community. And
Yes.
they are, I'm the 5th generation of my family shopping at Publix. I am a Publix girl, so I know that a lot of students who are students at Seminole State or high school students, Publix is a phenomenal opportunity for them to be, so I want them on the list. I just want them maybe in a different category if we
Okay.
want to categorize them differently, because I
can-
think retail jobs are important. When we look at that pie chart of,
Detail.
I don't know what page it was on. Where was the pie chart? Retail is 9.9%. It's probably the 4th largest piece of the pie on the pie chart.
So, Commissioner,
So, I'm just,
yeah,
you know.
we can provide all the follow-up data. That is not an issue at
Okay.
all. Yes.
I think to Commissioner Herr's point, talking about the funnels, is if there's I understand that maybe they all started out with being, they were in Osceola's bucket and they were in Seminole's bucket, and then maybe they funneled down, but I'd like to see how many of those, where did they start? Did they just look at Seminole initially, or were they looking at everything in the region? I'd love to kind of get a better idea of what's at the top of the funnel.
And part of the detailed breakdown that we'll look at the funnel as well are the other counties that are also being considered within that project. So that in the
Right.
funnel, when you look at all the projects as of now, for example, when we look at 42 total projects top of funnel, we cannot confirm at the moment that we are the only county that those 42 projects are looking at. So we will also ask OEP so they know we are one of the sites for those 42 projects, but we may not be the only site for all 42.
I want to know who we're beating out in the competition.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I think, and Commissioner Herr, clarify your question, because I think you said you asked for Seminole specific, and I think I just heard that that's not possible.
No, this is Seminole specific. So this is a sales funnel. So anytime you have a sales funnel and it's a prospect somewhere else as well. So I would expect that of the 42 that are in that bucket, they're in somebody else's bucket as well. We haven't won yet.
No.
And what we could add to this chart is what's the average number of locations that they're looking at, and then you would know if it's 2, then 21 are realistic opportunities, but
maybe I don't understand. I thought this was retrospective.
This is.
So this isn't current. So we do know.
So this is from Q3 of FY25.
But they're not sold yet.
Yes, they're not, no.
So-
No, that's just the top
I'm
qualifying
sorry. I thought
lead.
decision
Yeah.
meant that 7 had made a decision. Okay.
No, 7 are in their decision phase. Yeah.
So
But,
from
yeah.
the top of a sales funnel, this is a
Yeah.
really good discussion, the space I live in. From the top of the sales funnel, the 25, very unrealistic. Right? They're still deciding. They may not flow all the way through the funnel. They may fall out at some point. When you get down to the 7, and we're still in play
Yes.
for 7 that are in final decision-making stage, most likely to sell.
So the 7 haven't decided for Seminole. They're in the process of making a decision.
Correct.
Yes, but we're still in play, or they wouldn't be in there if it's a real sales funnel.
Got it. This is why this is not my business.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could talk about this for the
No,
next 2
we're
hours.
good. We're good. No, I do appreciate the information, and I do love data, although I don't understand sales cycles. And I think it's really important so that we know that we're giving the whatever our decisions may be as a board and the policy decision that we give you moving forward, at least we understand exactly what it is that our decision is going to do, what is the result and the outcome that influence is going to have on our community moving forward. Because right now, I don't think we fully understand what the whole big picture is. So, thank you.
The most important one on that chart to me is the negotiation phase.
Yeah, they're reversed.
Yeah.
That should be on the bottom.
Yeah, that should be flipped around. So I think you may have touched on it, and maybe you were trying to be kind on the UCF incubator, so I'm just going to ask the question. What is happening in the void of the city of Winter Springs deciding to defund the incubator for their prop share? After years of advocating, they wanted it in Winter Springs.
Yes. Yep. So we also have Rafael Camaño here just left? No worries. So we work very closely with Rafael and Michael Weiss. Michael Weiss is the site manager that's at the incubator in Winter Springs and also at Seminole State College. This would be the first months that they haven't received the grant funding from Winter Springs. So they're currently looking at offsetting the space that would pay for that grant funding with a partner over at the Winter Springs Incubator. This does not impact the expansion into Seminole State College, into Heathrow in any way.
Good.
We're still filling those offices with the international companies there. But in Winter Springs, we are currently looking at, is that the best possible location to move forward?
Understood.
University of Central Florida and Seminole County Economic Development, we believe there are other possible locations, and they do understand that the grant funding received, it is not tied in any way, city, to the current lease that UCF Incubator. That is a private lease that they have with a landowner at the incubator site.
Right.
But currently, the discussion on where would be a better location to continue growth for UCF Incubator, that is the discussion on the table with the county and UCF.
Fantastic. I
Mr. Chairman.
appreciate that.
I had the occasion.
Go ahead. I'm not done yet, but you go
Okay,
ahead.
no, I wanted to, specifically
Go ahead.
on that.
No, it's fine.
I had a discussion yesterday on, we were talking about another matter on UCF, and Mr. Kittinger, you know, we talked specifically about this. Not only is Guy right on accurate, but they are also, like I said, looking, if they're going to move, they want to move just one time. They're looking at some place that would be more beneficial throughout Seminole County, since Winter Springs is in close proximity to UCF, and they no longer are giving money. And they did, you know, quite frankly, they did try to go back to Winter Springs.
Right.
And at the next meeting, there was a motion, but, and got a second, but it lost for the second time.
Sure.
So but they are not giving up on Seminole County, and they're extremely thankful to Guy and his staff, but also to the Seminole County Commission and our continued support of this, and told me of a number of different projects that are extremely beneficial to Seminole County that they're working on as we speak.
That's my understanding as well. Yep. So, thank you very much, and also want to thank you and your team for being at the Sanford Orlando International Airport on Saturday.
Thank you, sir.
To welcome Aerojet, the new airline in the Dominican Republic, who are making 3 flights a week now into the Sanford Orlando International Airport. And our chairman of the board from the airport, Mr. Kevin Bentley, is here. Kenneth, thank you for being here, sir. Good to see you. Good work. You really put together, and I was told by the airlines representatives there that they have never, ever been to an area or an airport and have been greeted as well as they were and treated as kind as they've been in opening up their new routes here to the Orlando area. So it speaks volumes to the airport, to your folks, and so forth. Good work. Good work. Mr. Lockhart.
Would there be an opportunity, speaking of the airport, in the future to have some type of a presentation or work session to give us an update on developments like airlines that are coming, or update on the property development, that sort of thing? I feel like, I know you serve on that board for us, but it might be good to just get here's a state of the airport kind of situation.
Yeah, we can get something put together. I'm sure that we can work on that. There are some things that are in the works, and because the nature and the political nature of some of those things are unknown at this point as far as air carriers. It's just not a matter of picking up the phone and say, Delta, come set up shop here.
Yeah, I know, but I would love to understand that. Like,
Sure.
I don't understand the nature of that because I've never served on that board, and
Right.
I don't know what that entails. And I was actually having breakfast with some folks this weekend, and they said, why aren't there more airlines at the Sanford Airport? And I was like, you know what, that's a really good question. I'm sure there's an answer. I, however, do not know it.
Yeah.
So I would just like to be better educated.
Sure, absolutely.
Chairman? Just to that point, I know it's great to go to South America from Sanford, but you can now go to New Jersey. There's been significant developments at the Sanford Airport that's critically important. Atlantic City, Bob's like, wait a minute, his eyebrows are
Disagreeing with you.
Atlantic City.
I try to use them as many times as I can, and the airport's a great asset for us,
Yeah.
and it's a great economic engine, not just for Seminole County, but for the region.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize the significance behind it.
That's
So
right.
I would agree with Commissioner Lockhart. If there's an update that we could get, I think it'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we did an update transportation-wise at Metroplan, and it was very informative.
Thank you. I'd love to learn more.
Hey, Mr. Bentley, you got your work cut out for you there. Can you make that happen? We'll make it happen. Good stuff. Thank you very much. Anything else for this group? Seeing none, thank you all very much. We appreciate it.
Happy birthday, Gee.
Yes. Enjoy the donuts. Next up is our work session involving the third generation 1 cent sales tax.
And Mr. Chairman,
This will be Mr. John Slott and Ms. Tanya Laurie from Jacobs. Welcome.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. As they get set up here, one of the discussions we have had the last year and a half, probably almost 2 years since I have been here, is to finalize our third-gen sales tax program. And so we are happy to present you this morning with that, and do want to welcome Tanya Laurie here from Jacobs. Tanya and I have worked together in many capacities in the past, and probably one of the best people that I know that can help us with our sales tax program and now and into the future. So with that, I'll turn it over to them.
Make sure your green light is on.
And you may have to speak right into those.
Can you hear me now? Wonderful. Well, good morning, Board of County Commissioners and County Manager, County Attorney. We're here to present the next edition of the conversation we started back in the retreat in March around the how will we finish the Generation 3 sales tax. So we have a lot of interesting activity going on, a lot of productivity, and we have a few challenges, but we have a plan, and we'd like to present it to you today. I am flanked, as Darren has just stated, by Tanya Laurie from Jacobs. You all have met her in many different capacities over the years, and to echo Darren's point, we were excited that she's with us to help us not only with the Generation 3 closeout, but also the Generation 4 startup of the work plan, of the work program for the Generation 4 sales tax. Also flanked by our county stormwater engineer and division manager, Owen Regan, who basically his teams maintain all the things that the project teams create. So they have to work in a symbiotic nature, because what we create, we do have to maintain, and I know this board knows that, but you'll see that in this plan as well. We're also supported by Christian Swenson from the county manager's office, as well as Tim Jex from the office of OMB. All right, let's step right into the presentation. So we'll walk through a little bit of background. I think the commission, you all know the background very well over all the years of experiencing the 1 penny sales tax and its projects. More for the community, we'll walk through the remaining Gen 3 projects, and then what are our next steps, and then we have an action requested at the end of the presentation. The presentation will review those projects that remain in the Generation 3 work program. As well, we'll look at the summary of the cash flows. So when will we spend the money? So you'll see here how we are intending to prioritize the spending remaining in the Generation 3 sales tax, as well as the projects that are associated with that remaining spending. So we start here with an overview of the background of the Generation 3 referendum. The referendum was intended to collect $366.2 million. We actually have spent to date $380 million, sorry, $380.4 million. So we've spent more than the original tax referendum had envisioned. So with that spending, where did that spending go over the last 10 years? It went to all of those things we talked about. We had 2 major initiatives: the capital maintenance activities, so the road resurfacing, the pipelining activities, sidewalk programs, all of those types of programs. We also then, on the project side, had all those initiatives that you and your constituents said were important, as well as what our engineers said needed to be maintained. So we have those projects. As you can see, productivity has increased over the years as we spent the 1 penny sales tax on those initiatives that you and your fellow commissioners have stated are the priority. And with referendums, conditions of what the money can be spent to. In the last year, just over $60 million of spend. So now we step into an overview. So this is what remains. So what remains really is we have that $380 million that was already spent. We also, one of the very good news items within this initiative was, and thank you to the county commissioner and staff over the last 10 years, we're really able to leverage these funds to go get other federal and state funding. So you can see $175 million on $380 million that the team was able to generate in addition to the investment of our taxpayers and of our community. So as you all know, all the dollars are associated to existing projects within the budget. So that last remaining is $145.9 million that is in the carry forward that you have seen moving into this year's budget. So as we move over to what remains is there is $145 million in the carry forward. We less out the budget request that we have in front of you today, the $22 million. We less out what it costs to maintain that infrastructure, the $19.7 million. What remains for the project side of the Generation 3 spending is $103.7 million. So at this point, in overall numbers, $700 million in actual collections toward the 1 penny infrastructure sales tax on $380 million of initial collections. So as we move the story forward, we started with many hundreds of projects that the county would like to have completed. We are now down to double digits. So we began last fiscal year with 73 remaining projects. We were able to complete, the staff has completed 13 projects, remaining 60. Those 60 remaining projects, of them, as we stand here today, 9 of that 60 are already in a substantially complete state or being finalized as we speak in the next few months. So working from the bottom up on this chart, we have 30 projects that have funding from the 1 penny sales tax. We have 13 projects that are a composite, those leveraged funds, which are funded by 1 penny and then also funded by grants. Then we have 9 projects that were named in Generation 4 as well as Generation 3, and we're going to talk to you about those here in a second. And then we have 8 projects that we believe are very good candidates for leveraged funds. Those are the intent there is to get them shovel ready and go look for some additional funding to complete the construction. In this time, we still want to focus, of course, on the capital maintenance, maintaining all those, the road resurfacing, the sidewalk programs, the traffic signals, and bridge repair. We want to right size, and that's what we'll talk about here in a second when I turn it over to Tawny to walk us through the projects. And we want to actually go after, and this is something we're really excited with, to really look for the support of board and others, to really look for more leveraged funds to complete this work program, and then, of course, be prepared for the 4th generation sales tax and take that same benefit and apply it to those tax dollars.
Great. Thanks, John. Before I begin, I just want to say thank you for the warm welcome, and it's truly my honor to serve this county with moving your transportation program forward. So the next 2 slides are our opportunity/challenge slides. As John mentioned, as we started looking through your 3rd gen program and looking at the monies that have been allocated in different phases, we started breaking those into the buckets that John just mentioned in the last slide. And if you notice, there were 2 buckets that were not check marked, and I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking through both of those. This is our first slide, which is our prepare shovel ready. These are the 8 projects that John mentioned earlier. Now, if you look at the dollar amounts that are remaining, You see 6 of them are all under that $4 million mark. And as Commissioner Delary knows very well, and the fellow commissioners, those are really good candidates for MetroPlan Orlando and some of those federal dollars that come in. Those are your sidewalk projects or your intersection improvements. So we're going to continue your tradition of bringing the bacon home, so to speak, and really knock on those doors and get those dollars back into Seminole County. There are 2 projects on there that you'll notice that have higher dollar amounts. That's Orange Boulevard as well as Slavia Road. So what we're doing with those 2 projects, we're looking at that, especially Orange Boulevard. And this is where John talks about right-sizing a project. Where are the needs? Can we do some intersection improvements at lower dollar amounts to help alleviate some of the congestion? Or can we phase this project to break it into smaller bites at the apple so we can bring in additional federal dollars? We're also had even this last week talked with our grants departments. Once the government reopens, what are opportunities for us, those build grants or what name that they want to call it next. So we're really going to concentrate on looking and bringing dollars back to help these construction. DOT loves shovel-ready projects, and that's what we're preparing these projects for. Next slide. Okay, the next bucket that was not checkmarked is what we call our 4th Gen projects. So these are projects that started in Gen 3, but they are also named in the referendum for Gen 4. Now, the good news with these projects, you see a lot of asterisks. Those already have leverage dollars on it. They already have grant funding on it. So that'll help us as we move forward. But what we're going to do really as early as this next week is turn our attention to building out the 4th Gen work program. So we're going to take a 10-year and flow these projects. These are not the only projects that were named in the referendum, so we're going to start putting the puzzle together on what projects we can complete when. And we'd love to come back to you and present that to you in the spring of next year. So those are sort of our look ahead. Now, what are we doing right now to finish out your Gen 3? I think I got a call on our very first day here, it was probably about a month ago, and Darren said, when are you going to be done with Gen 3? So there was no pressure at all in starting this job. John mentioned it a little bit. We're going to continue our capital maintenance. As he mentioned, it's our resurfacing, it's our sidewalks, it's our bread and butter to keep the traffic moving through this county. I mentioned earlier we're going to right-size projects. Let's look at these big dollar amount and what programs or what improvements can we put in place to help alleviate some of the congestion. And then, of course, looking to actively pursue those grant funds. I mean, $175 million, that's something to be proud of. You turned a $366 million program into $701 million. I mean, that is really incredible in transportation, and you all should be commended for that. So what we wanted to show you in the next couple slides is when we're going to be done with Gen 3. So as we looked at your program and the schedule for the projects, the next couple slides sort of shows you that $103.7 million that John mentioned earlier in the presentation, and how are we going to flow through that through the next couple years. So this first slide sort of shows you the construction, design, right-of-way, and study phases of these projects that remaining. We look to be complete with Gen 3 in the next couple years, and that's really great. That's a good feat 2 years after your 4th Gen referendum. So again, kudos. I'm coming in at a good moment, right? So that's how this data breaks down by project phase, and then the next slide shows those buckets, those 5 buckets that John started the presentation with, and how that is flowing through the work program. So we have a big work program this year. $72 million is a big work program. We've got a lot of projects in construction now. We just had a meeting yesterday. We've got a lot of projects that are finishing up with construction. We've got a lot of studies that are finishing up. We've got a lot of design projects that are finishing up. So we look forward to working with all of you to put third gen to rest and then start your fourth gen. And with that, I'll turn it back over to John.
Thank you, Tony. So as you can see, Commissioners, the work is continuing. There's mighty work to complete, and we have a plan. So that, how do we complete the Gen 3 and put a bow on it is the intent of this discussion. It's also taking that and then leveraging it in and understanding all of the learnings of this entire team, as well as with the support of our consulting teams, to be able to say, how do we take all the learnings from the last 3 generations and take it into the 4th generation and appropriately set up an appropriate work plan for 4th gen. What that'll mean is a lot of coordination up front. So at the direction of the county manager, Darren has asked us to be ready for a springtime Generation 4 discussion with you and your fellow commissioners to be able to sit down and say, here's what the 4th generation plan looks like, as well as keep going on the Gen 3. So what we're going to do is start tomorrow. So maybe start this afternoon. We might have already started. Yeah, we might have already started. But to the point would be, go out and talk to the cities. We've heard from this board, the cities are a very, very important partner to the 1 penny sales tax, and therefore we need to coordinate with them. We need to understand what their needs are, and we will need your help in those discussions. We'll also meet with our regional partners. DOT, we've talked about, Tony brought up the key funding sources that the DOT can help with and have done over the years. So we appreciate their partnership. Also, of course, the Turnpike, the Expressway Authority, and of course, MetroPlan Orlando as our regional MPO, and as Commissioner Delary, as chair today on that board, can assist us on these potential initiatives and hopefully help us bring back more of that money. Then, of course, as the federal government opens back up again, being well-positioned for those grants that are coming out of the federal government, and working with our teams and the lobbyists and so on to really make sure that the needs of Seminole County are understood at the federal level. And then finally, thank you for your authorization on our last meeting regarding the 2050 MTP. That is the cherry on top, basically, to be able to sync up with the MetroPlan planning cycle and grab those new projects or potential projects that will inform your thinking around Generation 4, and we'd layer those into the work program so that you can consider both everything that was considered in the 4th gen referendum already, as well as the new thinking that might come from that plan. With that, I'd also like to pause for a moment and just a big thank you. This was a Herculean effort starting back in March to get us here. I want to really, truly appreciate the county manager's direction and vision, as well as his staff support. This could not have happened without Mr. Jex and his team, Sarah, doing some just yeoman's work very quickly. And then I think Tawny, we said hello, and she just got started. So she just jumped right from the frying pan into the fire and came with us. And then, of course, Owen and his team and our construction and design teams just diving in and making sure it happened. I do want to share one special story a little bit, too. What do our teams do when we're not watching? Our construction team, we were having our status meeting yesterday, major project, the Oxford Road project, as you all are very, very aware of. The team, these little small something extras, right? They went out to our construction partners, our contractors, and said, hey, Halloween's coming up. Let's make sure we have no construction debris on these sidewalks that we're working on so that the kids can have safe and fun Halloween. So no one asked them to do it. This is just the special people we get to work with. And it was just a nice, quiet moment, and I'd like to just acknowledge Ted Holmes and his team on the construction side for just doing the simple things that make this a very special place to live. With that, we will pause. We're here to answer any questions, and we have a requested action for the approval of a board.
Very good.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Any inquiries, questions, comments? Mr. Hart.
So I want to start by pointing out, and Tim may not like this math because, you know, his math is always just a little bit different than mine. It's probably righter than mine, but this is still good math. So if you take us back to slide 887. So the tax generated $380 million. If I reduce that by 25%, so that's a low number, very conservative approach. 25% of that came from people outside of the county. Historically, we've said 30% of it comes from people outside of the county. You get to about $285 million of taxpayer investment by Seminole County taxpayers. And if I do an ROI to Seminole County taxpayers on that, it is a 2.46 return on every $1 that was put in. We get 2.46 back. That, we need to not lose sight of that. Because when we talk about, we miss the talk track about the leveraging of the dollars that we get. We talk about it very...
No, we didn't.
Well, we talk about it loosely, but we're not talking about it specific to the ROI on this after the fact of both calculations. And it's remarkable. So I just wanted to point that out. I would like to have a general conversation with the backdrop of the conversation being Orange Boulevard and the notion of phasing a project or right-sizing the project so that the components can get leverage dollars. How is that going to feel to citizens that are living through the construction on their main only entrance and exit from their homes?
Thank you, Commissioners. So on Orange Boulevard, just setting a little bit of the groundwork, this project extends Orange Boulevard from just under I-4 all the way to 46, are the terminus of the project. It includes a separated trail as well as trail connectivity up into the Wekiva long-term, and then most of it is drainage and safety across that whole corridor. So there's a lot of retention and a lot of just basic blocking and tackling of good roads and stormwater infrastructure being put in place on a road that has not been maintained up to that level to this point. So that's the framing of the project. So one of the things that's made it a difficult project is that they've had to separate all of the water retention and stormwater assets across the whole corridor. So what we're asking our design folks to look at is how do we break this up in an appropriate manner instead of looking at a $40 million project straight off the gate. Can we break it into phases logically? So one of the logical separations is the Smith-Lockhart canal system. So to the east, one phase, to the west, another phase. That still leaves a very big phase, to the Commissioner's point, on the west side of Orange Boulevard. So we're really asking our engineers to take a peek at this and say, wait a second, is there another way to split this up? And to use a public works or construction term, we also have to consider the MOT, the management of traffic. So how do we make sure that these citizens can get to and from their homes on the daily for all the things they want to do during what will be quite a long project? So I think that's what Tawny had just referenced. We've got to think more deeply about that. And we've got to think a bit, and thank you, Commissioner, from the lens of how it impacts the community.
And if I could add just one point, and one of the questions that you asked, and then going back out to the community, talking to them, because what makes sense to us may not make sense to the community on really what boots on the ground. And so keeping the community involvement, having them with us every step of the way of the project, and ensuring that, you know, that they understand how the project's moving forward as well.
I appreciate that, because I think when we talk about that and don't frame it with the idea that we are worried about how they get to and fro, it's probably going to raise concerns. So that's in the mix. I just want to make a comment around Midway. I know the projects that we've already accounted for in Midway, and I just want to, and I do this in every single briefing that I'm in. The work that we did on Midway was the start to getting that infrastructure up to par. It was not final, so it's in fourth gen as well, and we need to make sure that we transition from one to the other without a big gap in time. My last comment, but I think the work that you've done is, I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at the entire team. The work that's been done to push stuff through this funnel is amazing. And the fact that you start slow and then ramp up, but you still had the second gen that was tagging on top of that, and that piece is lost in that one graphic. But it is amazing. So, thank you, Chairman.
You bet. Anyone else? Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to continue the conversation that Commissioner Hurd was just saying, that it's not been easy. And one of the reasons why it's not been easy because of the increased cost of not just materials, but also manpower. And there's another factor here that we don't really talk about a lot, and that is that when large projects come into the region, like I-4 or the 417 or the fourth, whatever project it is, it sucks up a lot of bandwidth of capacity of construction workers, which increases the cost, as well as it sucks up the bandwidth of engineering firms. So it doesn't go unnoticed that, you know, it does take time and it is difficult to get these projects done. Even the small projects, as people may think it's just a small sidewalk project that's only a couple $100,000, even though that is real money, but it does get inflated. So you should all be commended for all the work that you're doing. Two issues I'd like to discuss. You mentioned, John, reaching out to the 7 cities about, are you talking about their projects or about our projects, or both of them, or how to dovetail that? But can you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, Commissioner, and I think one of them at your direction as well as your fellow commissioners. So an example would be the Slavia Road project that is currently in the Generation 3. At your bequest, we were going to fund that with 1 penny, ostensibly by the county. We took that back, went out to the city of Oviedo, and got them to agree to a share. So they are coming to the table with a 30% share.
Slavia Road is not in the city limits.
I'm sorry, 426.
Yeah,
Sorry.
426,
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Just
apologize.
getting confused.
Wrong project. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah. So the ILA.
Sorry about
Been
that.
a long day, yeah. Sorry about that. So the 426 extension. So basically this project they were able to now come into and help us in the design, and they are also interested in looking at the potential construction as well. So that's a perfect example of a named project where the municipal will come in and help us out. The city will come in and help us out.
So you're talking about the city's projects and also working with us to elaborate on their dollars as well.
Yeah, and if you remember, Commissioner, we had, on the referendum, we had joint projects, like a joint shared list, and so, and I have been working with all the city managers during that process as well as Mr. Switson when we started this, is that now we're ready to start meeting with the cities as we start collecting, looking at what joint projects that we both agree upon and how we move forward, and that's what we will be taking back to this board once we work with them.
Can you also discuss with us, I know the Transportation Master Plan has not been finalized yet. It should be finalized the first quarter, plus or minus next year. I'm sure that's going to be dovetailed in this as well. Can you explain how that's going to work?
Absolutely, Commissioner. So for everyone, at your direction, what we did was we took the 2045 TMP, the Transportation Master Plan, recast that as the 2050 MTP, ostensibly to align to the regional planning efforts, so to align to Metroplan Orlando's process. So we will conduct that project through this last quarter and then into first quarter of next year. What that'll allow us to do is take all of that data and bounce it against what was in the fourth generation referendum, and be able to say, here are additional projects for your consideration based on the new data and the new learnings. So that's the intent there, and then at Darren's direction, we would bring that back to you and your fellow commissioners.
So I guess you'll be putting this data into the master plan to see how all that shakes out then?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You bet. Anyone else? Commissioner Lockhart.
Talking about collaborating with the cities is great. Also want to see additional further collaboration between road stormwater and water quality. I think we have a great opportunity to focus on that this year, and so as we're looking at these projects, any opportunity that we have to also improve water quality in the region, whether it's a perceived retention pond that may eventually flow into the Lockhart-Smith Canal that then flows into Lake Monroe, we really need to emphasize that as much as possible. And I know I've been asking for breakdowns. Well, what are which of these projects impact water quality, and which of these are just just paving? And then I got the whole pipelining speech. But I really think that any time where we're talking about spending money, we need to be able to at least say this we either can or cannot improve water quality, and if we can, this is how we plan to do it. I would love to see that, because I think that would be great. And Owen's amazing, and Kim's amazing, and their teams are all amazing, and they do work together very well, but I don't think we have been as intentional as a board in funding projects that give them the very firm nod that this is important to our board. We know it's important to our citizens. So that's one thing. The other thing I wanted to touch on is on the back page of this item, before you get to the actual BAR, page 828 in my agenda book, there's the list of projects that were not reimbursed by FEMA. And I don't know that it's I don't know if it's in your PowerPoint or not.
Yeah.
But I think this further solidifies this board's conversation and discussion around making sure that we have adequate reserves and funds for things that FEMA will not be reimbursing. And I think, Tim, you did some math for me on these, and I'm sorry I don't have it in front of me. Do you remember the total?
I do. I'm Timothy Jex with the Office of Management and Budget. After Hurricane Milton, there were 6 roadways that were damaged and required drainage mitigation. These are projects that would have initially been reimbursed primarily by FEMA. The total was about $4 million, and we've learned that we're not going to be getting that reimbursement, so we had to switch that to county funds.
So, not great news, but great that we've been thinking about it and planning ahead, because we know we're going to see more of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Right. Great work. I'm excited about moving forward, and thank you again, Tawny, for coming on board.
Mr. Costin, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Just to say, the key to this, and it's been stated in many different ways by my fellow commissioners, is the results, and that the citizens see those results. I think one of the things that we did that we just blew over and don't think much about is the signs, 1 penny sales tax at work. I've seen that. So many people have said something to me, that's a great idea. I mean, from other counties, they said, that's a great idea. We should be doing that too. But I just wanted to reiterate also what Commissioner Lockhart just said about, and not just because of water, but, making sure that whenever we do something, we're looking at other positive results we can do with it, not just going ahead and paving the road, but, okay, what other problems do we have in this area? Let's see if we can take care of them with this project or through this project. So I think that's very, very important. And I agreed with the other commissioners, Commissioner Hearn, Commissioner Zimbauer, when they said things about leveraging. It's amazing that, we did talk about it, but not as much as we talked about, hey, 30% is coming from other people. Mm-hmm. The leveraging of, hey, and we've got this, and now we can draw down monies from other areas is extremely important and gives us even more bang for the buck. That's it.
Thank you. If you could go to slide number 5. Before we get into that, I just want to say, I think what I'm hearing here is something that I've always wondered about when we talk about water quality, so on and so forth, is a simple ranking of each project, whether it has positive, negative, or neutral impact environmentally, is something I would love to see. Mm-hmm. and could be used as a ranking perhaps by this board as to what benefits, overall should be moving forward.
Yes, sir.
So I would say everybody's been thankful to staff, so I'm not going to reiterate that, but I will tell you, if you look at this graph, I'm thrilled to death. I'm thrilled that we have kicked this finally into high gear to get delivery out, especially during a pandemic, following up with, after the pandemic, when we had, supply chain issues, labor issues. This is great. I was banging on the table before I was ever elected here that they couldn't spend the money quick enough to get the job done. This tells the story. So fantastic work, fantastic that we're actually getting there. There's always going to be speed bumps and hurdles and hiccups on any project, and we have to deal with those as they come. But this portrays really a movement in the right direction to get these projects done on behalf of our citizens who've been waiting to have them done, and also being able to see those leveraged dollars play out. So thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
That's all I have, and I'll move for someone to move.
Requested action.
Mr. Hurt.
Yes, sir.
I move to approve the chairman to execute a resolution implementing the budget amendment request 205-053 in the amount of $22,551,777 to realign budgets for existing infrastructure projects.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, like sign. Seeing none, carries unanimous. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Next item is going to be item 31, fourth generation sales tax project priorities. It's going to be Assistant County Manager, Mr. Christian Swenson, and Mr. Tim Jex, Management and Budget Director, sorry.
And Chairman and Commissioners, as they're setting up here, just to start off again, is that now that we're ending third gen, as you saw in the last presentation, or the last for the next couple of years, and the fourth gen transportation sales tax projects will be coming to you in the spring, as we'll go through that work session. There are a few projects that are non-transportation related that I want to make sure, we talked about it at our retreat in this past March, but I wanted to bring it to the board so we can start moving on a few of these projects. So that's the purpose of the next presentation.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. Christian Swenson, Assistant County Manager. I'm here with Tim Jex, the Budget Director. And as Darren mentioned, we're here to talk about fourth-gen sales tax non-transportation related projects that are initially contemplated. So
Christian, you may pull that mic. You may.
Oh, my far too far away.
Those you have to speak
All right,
into.
can you hear me better? All right, I apologize for
We
that.
can't afford new ones.
Oh, no worries. The
Budget cuts, sorry.
Budget cuts. So with this, we're going to do the standard agenda that we do in our presentations. We'll talk about the purpose, the background. I'll turn it over to Tim for the background, and he'll give you kind of a history of that. He'll turn it back to me to talk about potential projects, and then we'll talk about next steps and questions and so forth. So as Darren mentioned, this is to talk about the transportation-related fourth-gen sales tax projects and establish initial priorities. So what we're looking with this, just from a more administrative understanding of what we're doing, we really just want to create projects accounts and get started on these things. Not necessarily apply the budget yet, but establish them as legitimate projects in the budget and begin the administrative process.
High-level conversation at this point, correct?
That is 100% correct. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tim, and he's going to give you a background of the sales tax, and as mentioned, he'll pass it back to me.
Thank you, Christian. The fourth gen sales tax referendum passed in November of 2024 with 73% voter approval. It's a 10-year tax, and revenues are restricted to be used on public infrastructure improvements. The first three generations focused on transportation infrastructure like roadway preservation, flood prevention and drainage, trails, traffic improvements, sidewalks, water quality, and bridges. And the fourth gen referendum was expanded to include parks and other public infrastructure. When we started the process of developing the fourth gen sales tax, we worked with our Public Works Department, Parks Department, and Facilities Department to identify needed improvements. We looked at historical actual expenditures and future needs, and the fourth gen referendum was built based on the approximate funding shares shown here. We anticipate to collect $650 million over the next 10 years. with $400 million going to transportation and stormwater, and $250 million going to parks and other infrastructure. Revenue collections began in January of 2025, and for 9 months in fiscal '25, we collected $40 million. In fiscal '26, the current year, we're projecting to collect another $50 million, for a total of $90 million currently available to allocate towards projects. Sales tax revenues can be pledged towards debt service, but the term of the debt cannot be longer than the term of the revenue. So a simple example where we took the $250 million totally available for parks and infrastructure, that would be a $25 million annual debt service, which would generate $210 million in immediate proceeds and would cost about $40 million in interest at 3% with a 10-year term. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Christian to talk about individual projects.
All right, thank you, Tim. All right, so based upon a series of meetings, board meetings and retreats over the last year, we've identified some projects that we think are at the forefront of this effort. So I'm going to just run through these, and then I'll spend a little bit talking about each one. So we're going to talk about Animal Services Building, County Administration Building, Medical Examiner Building, the Roland Hills Park Project, Rosenwald property, and then the WB Equestrian Center building that's on it. So the first one we're going to chat about is the Animal Services Building. Alan Harris was here and kind of briefed you on the state of animal services during the budget process and highlighted a number of these things. But what we're looking for is a expansion of the current animal services shelter to include additional kennel space. There's been some conversation about capacity and things like that that would hopefully relieve that, as well as an HVAC system to bring the temperature of the existing as well as the new kennels down to meet regulatory levels, as well as some associated building upgrades. With the creation of this project, we would start an RFP development process for both the architect and CM, which is fairly standard on our projects. The next project to be discussed is the County Administration Building. This would be a multi-story administration building and parking garage. It would house the BCC staff, BCC chambers, property appraiser, and a tax collector. It's a replacement of this building with some other accoutrements in it for other staff members to bring in. On today's agenda, you obviously saw this with the recommendation for both the architect and the CM. So the next slide is the medical examiner facility. That's another one we've talked about. As y'all are aware, we are currently in a partnership with District 5. That is an agreement that finishes in 2029. We're looking to do our own medical examiner facility. It is questionable right now whether that's a facility that will include Lake County. They've expressed some desire to do that, or a facility that will go it alone. So this project would contemplate the programming of both of those style facilities, but more importantly would include a full medical examiner suite, offices, autopsy, forensic space, laboratories, things like that. The RFP for the architecture has closed. We actually just did a short listing yesterday, and we're scheduling those presentations to go further in the process. The construction manager RFP will close on the 29th of October, and construction is planned to be complete for the third quarter of 2029, which would mirror the agreement we have with District 5. The next project to discuss is the Rolling Hill Park. Everyone's familiar with that. This is the former golf course that's being converted into a regional park that will include obviously park amenities as well as road improvements and trail improvements. The guaranteed maximum price with the construction manager is currently being negotiated with staff. We're hopeful to be bringing that back to the November 18th board agenda for approval and moving that forward. The next project, another one that was on the consent agenda this morning, or at least a portion of it, was the Rosenwald project. This is, we've contemplated this as a 3-phase project to kind of catch up the construction. It's been around for a little bit of time, so we're breaking it into more manageable chunks to be able to get it built faster and catch up with that. So the first phase was the one that was for the GMP on the agenda today, is a pavilion and hardscape, the trails that kind of go, connect that. Phase 1B is site amenities to do with the lake, which is fish and piering and a kayak launch. And then the third, or what we're calling phase 2, is the community center building construction itself. So as mentioned, the phase 1 GMP was on the agenda this morning. Phase 1B is currently in design. We're anticipating construction to be estimated for the second quarter of '26, and the Phase 2 Community Center for the third quarter of '26. The next project we're contemplating is the WB Equestrian Center project. As you know, this was purchased last year and kind of a land bank project to do something with that facility. Up there, there is a building. It is a horse barn, which sounds a bit odd as we're talking about horse barns, but it's not a horse barn like you would traditionally think of a horse barn. It is a block building. It is extremely, extremely well built. It is open to the elements. The current property owner has to vacate the park by April. That's what the sales agreement was. We would like to go in there and move some staff in there, button up the building, and have a staff presence. Sometimes when you leave buildings by themselves and there's not a staff presence on there, a decay process starts. There's not people that can fight, there's not people that see the problem, and then it further exacerbates itself. So we would just like to kind of establish a presence in there and then get that so we don't run the risk of that. So right now we're just working with an on-call architect, just contemplating a scope and trying to develop a proposal for that. So the next steps is, if everyone's agreeable to these projects, we would bring budget amendments back for the individual projects as they're needed at the appropriate time. So with that, I'd just like to turn it back to the board for questions.
Okay. We'll start with Commissioner Herr.
So we have $250 million available spread out over the duration of the fourth gen. What's the total of all of those round numbers?
Give me a second to work my pen, and can I come back to you, and I'll just roughly give that?
I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Again, one thing I want to, I'm going to work a pen here, but it's not, it's going to be very rough. Obviously, the programming and what the board's desired for some of these things would come in there, and that would have an impact. So,
Oh, yeah, I'm going to double whatever you say, because then it comes back
oh,
right.
don't do that, please. All right, give me just a second if you want. I can do two things at once, maybe not well, but I'll come back as you ask other questions.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm asking. The notion that we're already talking about debt is unsettling to me. Just going to go on the record. Some of this stuff is not have to have, and there's a 10-year duration. And so if we could potentially cash flow this out over time without taking on $40 million worth of interest for debt service, that would be fabulous. But I have no earthly idea what the wish list costs. I know Animal Services, $20 million of the $250 million, probably needs to be phased early on. I have an idea on Rolling Hills. I think we have an idea on Rosenwald. That probably has to be put in early. We've been working on those two for a while.
And if the reason I had them throw in the debt service is just as an option. As we start, I'm sure we'll have another retreat in the spring, and that we'll start talking about projects. And that was asked by a few about if we wanted to fast track some of these projects, what would the debt look like? And so that was just a scenario that we had put on there. So that is not, we haven't made any decisions as you all would make that decision, but just we wanted to, since question was asked, we wanted to make sure we covered it.
Yep, I thought I'd get it out on the record that I'm a little freaked out by it.
I've done, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. I wanted to chime in on the debt conversation.
Anything else on that?
If you've got
He's got
math.
a number.
I have that, I have the mathematics done. So I just ran through there. And again, this can go higher or lower. I mean, this is, all we're doing is establishing project code. So this is order of magnitudes, the programming can go out. This is, I don't want anyone to, so 210, 214, as Tim indicated, there's 50 million now. The thing to keep in mind about these projects is the projects that we talked about are going out to 2029. So Commissioner Herr, there's not a shortage of cash flow to do any of this work that we need to do right now. This is all preliminary work.
Yep.
This is stuff that when you put it out on a scale, it slides. It's not all that money now. And these projects, like I said, easily will go 3, 4, 5 years to get there. And that's why, when you look at 50 million a year, it's a notion, but it seems like these are doable within that time and possibly by the cash flow. But again, this is Christian in about 2 seconds, given a real rough order of magnitude, not based on any programming or design or things like that.
Mr. Jex is really unnerved by us doing math like this, but I can tell. And by the way, a shout out, because you got asked a question that probably, it was a really good question, but you were able to stand up and give a number. That's amazing. That's how in tune you are with this, our budgets. It's amazing. I just wanted to point, so I would have come up with, I thought it was in range, which is why I asked for you to do it, and I think that's how we should be thinking. So I appreciate that. Thank you, Chairman.
Sure. So for me, I think it's a bit premature to have this discussion. I think this is a high-level discussion. I'm looking forward to more detail in each project that this board will ultimately approve or not approve, and the cost thereof. I understand this is broad and so forth, so I'm not ready to have the discussion at this point until we get deeper into understanding what board direction is going to be ultimately given for each project, as well as the cost and delivery methods. So this is a good appetizer, if you will, for where we'll ultimately end up. We have to start that conversation somewhere, but that's where I land for that. So, anyone else?
Well,
You can go to Lee. I'll come back.
Commissioner Constantine, then Lockhart, then Delary.
Sure.
but it's good to know that you're thinking ahead of that. That's, I concur, this is something that I'm looking forward to getting in depth as to exactly specifics on what we're going to do with each one, but it is nice that we're listing them and we're putting them in this proper situation that we can or cannot, pay for them.
Commissioner Lockhart.
I agree, this is meant to be a high level. We're establishing project lines, and the devil's always in the details, for sure. But I do think you're looking for some sort of reflection back from this board that you're on the right track, and what you're saying you're doing is something that we are collectively giving you the head nod to move forward with, even though we're not going to get into the weeds with you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Or say yes or no.
Well, I think we're giving that, we are by consensus saying that we concur with establishing these project lines, right? So we don't know exactly the number that's going to be in them. We have some round numbers, but because we've already committed to these in one way, shape, or form. Okay. As far as the debt goes, I think what I took away from the slide referring to debt was that in this situation, in these circumstances, debt doesn't make sense. The math doesn't work to do that. There are some projects and some times when debt does make sense, and I think that slide tells us that this isn't one of those times right now to contemplate that, and so that's good, because that can kind of confirm some other conversations that we've had on this board. But great to be looking ahead, looking forward to more details down the road. It's great that we have this opportunity, that our citizens have trusted us with these additional funds so that we can do some of these really important projects for the community. So excited, good times.
Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with everything that you've all been saying. Just want to not go into the details and repeating it, but to the extent that borrowing money to move these projects forward, I would not be interested in that. We haven't done that in the past. I don't see that to be a starter, to be honest with you. And this is just the beginning of the conversation, and I have no problem with making these project line items to have these discussions. We're going to need to get more information about what these projects really look like, what the operation maintenance are, and forward, and there's a lot more conversation. So good work, looking forward, and look forward to having more conversations. Thank you.
Anyone else? Final? Do you believe you have direction, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Very good. Anything else you all have to add?
No, thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you all very much. All right. That wraps up our morning session. Anybody else have anything good for the order before we go into recess?
Happy birthday, Geek.
Yeah. We shall be in recess till 1:30.
Okay.